Hello, everybody. My name is Martha Alter Hines with Living the One Light. All right. Today I am making this video to talk about the start of eclipse season, March 2025. And specifically, I'm going to talk about the first eclipse, which is a lunar eclipse in Virgo. But really, I'm going to drop into this eclipse season in general and start to get a feel for what this is, because we are in these energies now. We have been, but I've been feeling it for a while, but we really, really are now. I'm recording this on Friday, February 28th, and yesterday was the new moon in Pisces, which began the lunar cycle where the full moon of the lunar eclipse is going to be. So we're now absolutely, very definitely in this eclipse energies. We were before, but we really, really are now. Um, so I'm going to drop in and help us feel into what does that feel like for you, for me, for all of us. And yeah, there's so many components here. The big, big, big thing I'll say though, also is obviously I'm going to talk about this in this video, but if you have not signed up yet for the free summit that is starting March 9th, that I'm co-hosting with Kaylin Castell, please sign up. It's totally free. And it's really, I wouldn't even call it a summit. It's not quite the right word. I don't know what the right word is. It's a healing container. It's a collective healing container to help us all be with these energies, these cosmic energies of this eclipse season, because this eclipse season is so, so, so powerful and is on many levels I just feel it as a portal of the great time of remembering that we're in. And it's like a energetically a direct portal. That's how I feel it. A direct portal straight into the choice we have in this time, and any time, but especially now, to be literally be love and to be super conductors of love. So more than really a summit, this is a collective action, a collective movement, um, to all together really, really be in this time in the most effective way that we possibly can. And if you follow Heather Ensworth, she talks a lot about, from her perspective, that the Kali Yuga is ending at the end of March. And there's just so, so, so many ways that this time right now is absolutely pivotal. Really, this is a big deal. Like, the way that the spirit world puts it to me is, this is not fun and games. This is not, I mean, hopefully we can enjoy certain things, but this is not frivolous. They're very serious. And yeah, so it's time. Like, it's really time. We're here to do what we're here to do, and it's time to do it now. And so this free summit is really about that. It's about holding space for us collectively to do it. Let's do it. Whatever it is, it's time for us to do it, and to do it together. And I would say, is to choose to be love, to choose to come into alignment with who we really, really, truly are on that soul level, to release anything and everything that's not that, etc. So this eclipse season is really like a portal into that. Um, yeah, and so the summit itself is going to have every day for 10 days. There will be one talk per day. We'll have a live and recorded opening ceremony on March 9th, and then we'll have, starting on March 10th until March 19th, there will be one talk per day, each one, amazing, really, really amazing beings like Heather Ensworth, Melanie Reinhart, Kayla Castell's my co-host, um, Ari Moshe Wolf, Keone Hanalei, on and on, right? Total of 10 speakers, in addition to me and Kaylin. And then we'll have a live and recorded equinox ceremony on March 19th. And then we'll have a little bit of a break, and then we'll have the closing ceremony on March 30th, which is the day after the solar eclipse. So the second of two eclipses coming in March. And that's also March 30th, the day we're doing the closing ceremony, is also the day that Neptune enters Aries for the first time. And in the midst of all of that, there's so many other things going on, lots of which we talk about in those free talks of the summit, including, Venus conjunct the sun, Venus turning from an evening star into a morning star, the end of the Kali Yuga, kind of a big deal, etc. So Mercury retrograde, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, there's so much happening in March, and so the summit is entirely free. There will not be any VIP upgrades. You have access to the whole thing for free indefinitely, because Kaylin and I are really dedicated to being of service in this time, and to supporting all of us to be of service in this time in the best way we can, individually and then together. So again, if you haven't joined, please do, because everything I say today in this video is certainly relevant, but it'll be multiplied exponentially in the summit, and really put into action. So by all of us, not just me, but everybody, all of you, me, together. Okay, so let me bring up the chart of that first eclipse, the lunar eclipse, coming up on March 13th, 14th, depending on where you are in the world. For most people, it will be March 14th. And so this, okay, sorry, here is the actual chart. All right. So this eclipse is going to be happening if you're in the Americas, this eclipse will be visible. It's a total lunar eclipse. So what that means is it's a full moon when you're looking at the sky and you see a bright full moon, and then slowly, the moon goes basically into the shadow of the earth. Between, the earth is between the sun and the moon moves around just precisely into the shadow of the earth, and therefore this bright full moon slowly over about an hour or two, suddenly is now in shadow. Instead of being bright and big, it's still visible right there, but it is, the sunlight is no longer on it. What you're seeing at that point is actually sunlight bouncing off the atmosphere of the earth onto the face of the moon. So you can still see the moon, but it's like, you could say, almost naked. Yeah. So that's what's going to be happening for some of us, it'll be technically the night of March 13th, almost basically midnight if you're on the West Coast, like California, which is where I am. Or if you're, let's say, on the East Coast of the Americas, it'll be at around, 3 a.m.-ish your time, but visible to anybody in the Americas, North and South. So, yes, and it is a full moon at 23, the moon at 23 degrees of, almost 24 of Virgo, with the south node at 27 degrees of Virgo. So you can see the moon and the sun are very, very close to the nodes, which is what makes it a total lunar eclipse. The sun will be at 23 degrees, almost 24 degrees of Pisces, with the north node at 27 of Pisces. And you can also see that the Saturn is very, very close to the sun, and Neptune is still very, very close to the north node. So Neptune and Saturn are kind of hugging the sun and the north node, which is really significant because that adds in a very particular kind of energy to this. Okay, so yes, a couple other points about just the astrology of this lunar eclipse. One is Uranus is trining the moon almost exactly. So the moon is going to be at 23, 55, 56 of Virgo, and Uranus is at 2402 of Taurus. So it's only like a 6-7 minute difference in terms of trining. So it's almost a precise trining. So the Uranus energy is very, very significant on this lunar eclipse. In addition, as I talked about in the video I did in January with Pam Gregory, Diana, the asteroid, is almost exactly squaring the nodes at the time of this lunar eclipse, and so that's another significant thing to notice. And Diana and kind of Estrella, but especially Diana, are right there with the galactic center. So the nodes are squaring the galactic center. Heather Ensworth recently just did a whole video on the galactic center and the significance of the galactic center right now, because the nodes are squaring the galactic center. So the galactic center is the center of our galaxy, the black hole of our galaxy, and very, very, very extra alive right now. And we have Diana the asteroid sitting there. We also have Varda, the Kuiper Belt being there, and then Estrella, the asteroid, is making its way to the galactic center too. Okay, so I'm gonna stop sharing the screen so I can just talk. Okay. So in the summit, in the talks for the summit, there are a bunch of talks that go into various aspects related to the nodes, related to this eclipse. You know, there's I did the conversation I had with Melanie Reinhardt for the summit brings in this eclipse a ton. The talk with Jamie Goldstein goes really deeply into the nodes being in Virgo and Pisces and what that's all about. So again, sign up for the summit because there'll be so much more there regarding this eclipse, but then, you know, the whole March time. But what I'm feeling called to talk about in this video with regard to this eclipse is, when I drop into it, the moon is in Virgo, on the south node in Virgo, trined by Uranus in Taurus. So Earth, 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 and Earth. Lots of Earth. And Uranus in Taurus is, as I've said in lots of other places, you know, to me, it's really about us clicking with the divine intelligence of ourselves as Earth, as our bodies, etc. And then we have this full moon in Virgo, an Earth sign, and really about the sanctity of ourselves as a temple of Earth on the south node in Virgo. Again, similar energy. And we have Diana squaring the nodes with the galactic center. So Diana is a goddess associated with also Earth and nature and ourselves as beings of nature and of, I want to say, the way when I really drop into Diana or Artemis. Diana and Artemis are the same-ish goddess. When I really, you know, become Artemis or become Diana in me, as me, what comes alive for me is suddenly I'm tapped into the whole light grid of life, of existence. Like I can feel and see the ley lines of the earth, and they start talking, and the light codes of the earth just start moving up through the trees, you know, through the branches of the trees, out the leaves. And then the light codes of the stars themselves start talking, moving. Their light starts moving with the light codes of Gaia and of all the beings of Gaia, including ourselves. It's exquisite. It's like, oh, so good. I could start crying. Diana also is very highly connected with animals of all kinds. She's very protective of children, and yeah, so there's many layers to her, of course, but that's what comes alive for me. And it all ties in. If I'm thinking, okay, what's the purpose of this lunar eclipse? There's no one answer for any of these things. We will see in the moment of the lunar eclipse, and, you know, before and after, of course, what comes alive for each of us is going to be different. But what really comes alive for me is, as you might have heard me talk about in the video I did on the new moon we just had yesterday in Pisces, there's this very, very strong theme right now in what's been channeling through me in the Ben Hui series and just in general of us now needing to, and what am I trying to say? Life needs us to, and we are ready to now ignite as the light codes that are us. And Gaia is igniting as the light codes that are her. And to have Uranus in Taurus trining a full moon lunar eclipse in Virgo on the south node in Virgo with Diana squaring the nodes. I mean, that's the biggest thing that comes alive for me, is that this lunar eclipse, I feel like, can help us really ground in to what's the true source of divine intelligence. How are we gonna, we're in a moment on the planet that is so intense and difficult on so many levels. It's just true. And we're, quote unquote, ending the Kali Yuga. So this Kali Yuga meaning like the time of great forgetting. We are in the time of great remembering. And what does that mean to remember? How do we remember? Well, big thing, I think, one of the big things being supported at this lunar eclipse is the remembering of ourselves as the light codes of a being of Gaia. Like we are light and Gaia as one. We are spirit and Gaia as one. And the divine intelligence speaks and lives and is alive as these light codes that are now ready to emerge, like ignite in that golden seed of our own heart, our own being. It is ready to ignite, and it's ready to just sprout as the light codes that we are. So yeah, if you want to hear more about that, go back to the new moon video that I did for the Pisces new moon. There's a channeling there with Pegasus, because the new moon was, that part of the Pisces part of the sky is overlaid by the constellation of Pegasus. So I talked a lot about that in there. Yeah, and the other component here that feels important to say in terms of this lunar eclipse and just of this time in general is, let me show you again, relates to the new moon. It relates to all the Piscean energy going on. Yes. Okay. So the moon itself at this lunar eclipse is in Virgo, but the sun is in Pisces, the North Node is in Pisces, Saturn is in Pisces, Neptune is at 29 degrees of Pisces, right? It's getting Neptune's getting very close to entering Aries. It's not quite there yet. It will enter Aries on March 30th, again, the day of our closing ceremony of the summit. That's a really big deal to have Neptune entering Aries. It's the first time in a very, very, very long time, right? And yeah, so this humongous emphasis on the Piscean energy and the fact that the moon is on the south node in Virgo, to me, brings in this incredibly powerful support from Gaia herself, from Source itself, from our own spirits and our own souls themselves, to radically let go, radically forgive, radically release any and all patterning. I mean, it sounds very stereotypical, but it's just so true. This is an opportunity of this lunar eclipse on the south node. It's very, very strongly an energy of releasing patterns that don't serve, and to radically forgive, to just let it go. Like whatever that thing, I mean, not that there are certain traumas and things, we need to process in its own right timing. So I'm not saying to bypass it. I'm not saying to jump past things that need to be addressed. That's not what I'm suggesting in the slightest. But for a lot of us, probably there are energetics in our being, in our lives, in our system that we just don't need anymore. And this lunar eclipse very, very, very powerfully supports that. You can also think about, this is something we talk about more in the video in the summit with Jamie Goldstein when we talk about the nodes, but to have the moon on the south node in Virgo absolutely can help us to release, especially energies, like out of balance Virgo energies, essentially. So I'm highly Virgoan. I was born on a full moon in Virgo myself. I love Virgo energy. I have a Virgo ascendant. Okay, so I'm not putting down Virgo at all, but all energies have a positive manifestation and then a potential shadow side. So a potential shadow side of Virgo can be a tendency to be overly critical of ourselves or overly critical of others, or yeah, to get kind of fixed or anxious about things, to have a voice, that critical voice that's just not helpful. And we have, interestingly, Saturn opposite the moon, conjunct the sun in Pisces. So Saturn also in an out of balance energy can be a critical voice or critical gaze that's not helpful. But in its most positive expression, Saturn, especially Saturn in Pisces, is a yin energy. It is a strengthening. It's an energy that can come in and say, hey, it's okay. You've got this tendency to be harsh on yourself or critical of yourself in these particular ways. Let's let that go. Like, I'm here, I'm holding you, kind of like a grandmother, really, really benevolent, grounding, beautiful, etheric, wise woman or wise man or wise being energy who just is there gently but firmly saying, yeah, I get it. I really get it. Like, I get, any and all feelings you're having are totally understandable. And let's just soothe that. Like, anything that's out of balance, anything that doesn't serve, let's just let that be soothed. I'm right here helping you to soothe it, and let's let it go. Because ultimately, Virgo Pisces energy is all about service. It's all about being here on the planet to be of service to the all that is. That's really what that energy ultimately wants, both Virgo and Pisces. Yeah, and so that's something, you could feel into over the coming couple of weeks, is if there are energies that are just, you just don't need that anymore. You don't need that critical voice of yourself. You don't need, you just relax, forgive yourself, forgive whatever it is. You don't even need to know what it is you're forgiving. Just let it go and let Gaia herself hold you in that, and really let the light codes themselves, the intelligence of the light that is you, the light codes that are you as a being of Gaia, let them do the work. Let them just take it over, right? Like your mind. Another thing about Virgo energy can be like a ruminating on thoughts or like that kind of a thing. Yeah, so if we can just let the mind go in a sense, and just let the intelligence, the divine intelligence of the light codes of our own being, the light codes of our own bodies, the light codes of ourselves as Gaia, just let the light itself take over, and let those light codes um that are igniting now in that seed, that golden seed in our heart, let them do their thing. That's really what it comes down to. Yeah. Okay. I think that's the gist. That's the gist of what I'm feeling in this. And it's beautiful, it's amazing. It's really like it's in a sense, it's like the light codes need to sort of take over the world. That makes sense. Um yeah. Feels really good when I feel that in my own heart, in my own being. Just, it knows the way. Our soul knows the way. The light codes know the way. Gaia totally knows the way, right? And we are her. We are the light. We are the divine. Yeah. And so much more to come. So much more to come. Sign up for the summit if you haven't. It's going to be so beautiful, so amazing. I would love to have you there. It's all, even the live gatherings are all recorded, so you can enjoy it anytime. Share it far and wide with anybody you think might benefit. And the other thing I wanted to mention is, so during the summit, there's going to be a pause time. There'll be the daily talks from March 10th to March 19th. And then there's going to be a pause where there's no talks until that closing ceremony on March 30th. But on Sunday, March 23rd, not technically part of the summit, but in the time of the summit and related to the summit, I'm also going to be holding a free live and recorded gathering with Chris Skidmore. And it is, so Chris is one of the speakers in the summit, and in his talk, we talk more about this, the free gathering. But I would love for you to be there as well, live and or through the recording. I'm super excited about this. When I've been dropping into prayer about it, it feels exquisite and needed, because what we're going to be doing is it's going to be a mixture of, it's mostly going to be very experiential. So it's actually going to be, Chris and I are going to, he and I are both, well, I historically have been a psychotherapist. He's currently a psychotherapist. We're both craniosacrotherapists and both astrologers. And then he has the whole mythology part. Okay. So what we're going to be doing, in a sense, essentially, is to hold the healing space for all of us, the craniosacral space for all of us to, I'm going to channel, and we're going to go all the way back to the beginning of time, and actually before the beginning of time. And we're going to go all, it's like in a sense, if you're familiar with craniosacral therapy, it's like we're going to really basically go back to the very original still point of existence itself, before existence existed. And then from that place, Chris and I will hold the space for us to, in our own being, in a sense, remember the original big breath, or big, Jude Currivan calls it the big breath, or big bang, but I really love Jude Currivan's way of saying the big breath. So we're gonna feel that ignite in ourselves, the beginning of time. And it's a very Piscean Aries thing, actually. And we're doing this in the time of this Piscean Aries dance that's so powerful right now. And the equinox, which is the end of Pisces and the beginning of Aries, and blah, blah, blah. So, and then from that place of remembering the beginning of time, or even the time before time, and then the big breath, we're going to feel each in our own way that it's at the beginning of time, the beginning of creation, where creation begins, but also story begins and myth begins. And as I've been dropping into this more and more, what I'm realizing is that, there's this whole big conversation in the astrology world, and just in lots of worlds, about the validity of myth, the role of myth, which myths are good or bad, or blah, blah, blah. And what I'm feeling more and more and more powerfully in my own perspective is that I want to hold space for us, and this is really the purpose of this live, this gathering, is for us to come back to the original template before there was story, before there was myth, before there was anything, because that's where the ultimate truth is, right? Of truth, of ourselves, who we are. And then it's from that place, I want us, basically, we're going to be holding this space so we can find that original template in the essence of our being. So we know what that feels like, the origin of existence, where life is birthed, story is birthed, and myth is birthed. And there's no right and there's no wrong. It just all is. And it's all based in pure the pure essence of love. So the gathering itself is basically gonna have 3 parts. The first part's gonna be Chris and me holding this very, kind of, you could say, very relaxing experiential time where I'm gonna be channeling and we're gonna be holding the space to go back to the beginning of time, before the beginning of time, and that whole thing. Then what we're gonna do is the next part is to feel in your own being, what is the story of creation that comes alive in you? No right and wrong, no agenda, just what naturally arises, what's there. Because whatever happens to arise for you, in a sense, you could say, is an original myth of you or a creation myth, in a sense, right? And then Chris, the third part will be that Chris will then start to weave in, well, what are some creation myths of various parts of the world? And yeah, how do we dance with that? And what does that feel like? And yeah, so it's like the purpose of this, the free gathering, is really to be, it's like a starting point of a conversation. Is if we're gonna have, I think this conversation about what myths are legitimate, how do we want to engage with constellations and planets, etc., from a mythological lens. That's what we do when we name the planets. They're named after mythological beings much of the time. Um, if we're going to be in a dialogue about what is best, I personally really, really, really want to hold space for us to start at literally start at the beginning, start before the beginning, um, and to collectively, individually and collectively, come from that original place of pure essence of love, which again ties in so perfectly with, the summit, which is becoming superconductors of love. And yeah, so the free gathering with Chris is not officially part of the summit. It's a different sign up, but it's in the time of the summit, and come to it all. Come enjoy all of it. And if you can't be there live, no problem at all. It's going to be it'll be all recorded and available for you indefinitely, and again, totally free. So we would love to have you there. Also in April, starting on April 1st, I'm going to be starting a course called The Stars Speak. And Chris is going to be doing he'll be a monthly speaker in that series. And then there will also be 4 other amazing, amazing, amazing speakers in that series. It'll be Heather Ensworth, Divine Harmony, Kaylin Castell, and Julia Balaz. And so I'll say more about that course coming up soon, but it is ready to sign up if you are called to that. That's going to be a 13-month journey with with many of the constellations and 13 particular stars, where we'll get to know the science of them, we'll get to know the mythology associated with them, but then we're going to, more than anything, drop into our own deep soul calling, our own deep soul remembering, and our own deep soul relationship with these, basically the light codes of the stars. That's really what it comes down to. And yeah, I'll do a whole, I'll talk about this a lot more soon, but that starts April 1st. I would love, love, love to have you be part of that. I think it's part of what I'm, the spirit world is saying to me, that it's this council of stars. The stars themselves are really trying to communicate with us. And so the whole purpose of the Stars Speak course is to hold space for us to come back into deep reverence and honoring relationship with the stars, with our family of the cosmos, really. Yeah. So I would love to have you be part of that. And let me know if you have any questions. Sign up for the free summit, sign up for the free event with Chris, on and on and on. Yes. Okay. Thank you so, so much for listening, for being here. If you haven't subscribed to this channel, please subscribe. I would love that. And happy eclipse season. Amazing. Oh, one last thing. Also tomorrow, March 1st, Venus is going retrograde at 10 degrees of Aries. Another important thing, another thing that we talk about a ton in the summit, Mercury will also be going retrograde at 9 degrees of Aries. The solar eclipse, which I'll talk about in a future video just about itself, is at 9 degrees of Aries. So if you have anything around that 9 degrees of Aries point in your chart, big, big, big deal. Big deal. So much going on in that area. And yeah, but more to come. Lots of talks in the summit about all of that. And then later I'll make a video also just about the solar eclipse itself, which is happening on March 29th. So yeah, it's a big month, really big month ahead. And thank you for being part of it. Thank you for being yourself, you. And thank you for choosing to be love. That's the theme of this month and life. Okay. Talk to you soon.